Hello, welcome to the Isuzu Ute A-League download. That's the first time I've pronounced that correctly. First time. Normally, we're actually here for 5 hours while I'm just trying to say Isuzu in a different way. Thomas Sorensen, Archie Thompson here. Welcome. We've just had the Unite round. You were there, Archie?
Yes.
You couldn't be bothered, Thomas? Where's your commitment to the A-League?
I didn't get the gig like you did. How was it? Because, obviously from afar, it looked like the activation was great. There was a lot of kids' tournaments around it. The derby was great. And then, some of the other games were a little bit empty in the stands. But overall, you were there. What was it? Good?
Look, there was Ninja Turtles racing SpongeBob SquarePants. And,
wow.
I think even Patrick, the Starfish, gave it a good run. They were competing for, I think, from the halfway line to the box. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was really great.
So you've picked out the key points there of why they've done it.
Well, that was my mind. We went straight to that.
Do you know what? I thought it was really positive. As someone who's never been there before or seen it before, or actually conceptually thinks, why are we taking teams... Why are we doing this? My English head goes, people should play at home and away, and that's what the league is. And obviously, you shouldn't. People keep comparing it, and so you shouldn't compare things, right? It was really interesting to see how it worked. I think, like you said, just the number of the first thing you see is just the number of kids that love football, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
And that is great because football is great, and we know it's great. And also when they're coming to just kick a ball through a hole or whatever, that total focus, when they are there and they're like, this ball and that hole, they're the only things that matter in life. And there were some kids who were there for 3 hours. And you just got the stamina. Kids don't realise what it's like to be a parent. Right? They don't realise. And I just kept saying to the kids, you've got a lot of energy here, expend it now because you should really please go to bed early. So I thought that was really positive. Just kids loving it, getting involved, all different shirts. That was great. Something else that I thought was really positive was I met 3 or 4 groups of guys who are starting their own podcasts, A-League podcast, the people who want to come and take our jobs, basically, but had a real energy for the game, a real love for the game, a real desperation is the wrong word, a real enthusiasm to get people involved with the game. And they had a good little relationship. I was trying to encourage them to sort of hate each other, start some podcast wars and stuff. But those kind of things that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago, right? Because these guys have grown up with the A-League, and now they know what it is, and they love it, and they want to talk about it in a way that we're 4 middle-aged. You may not have noticed 4 middle-aged men, right? So we have an audience, a huge audience. I mean, a giant audience. But they can attract different audiences, and that's what I got from it was you had them, and then I met the people who run the leagues, right? And obviously they all have different interests, but they all have the one thing that brings everyone together is the desire to grow the game, right? And people want to do it in a different way, of course, or they have different, what they're trying to do is different. But that really came across to me, that there is a real will in lots of different ways to grow it. And it's something that sort of has to be organic to be a real success. And I sort of came away quite enthused about that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the reason why they had this Unite round. And you touched on the kids having, activation areas and having little games set up, because it's those ones that, those parents that are maybe bringing their kids for the first time and they see all this amazing things happening, and then, wow, we're going to come to the next one, or we're going to come to the following week to watch that. I think that's the pull. And then you've got, like you said, a lot of these different podcasts. I'm a good mates of Rashid Mahazi, who's I think got his Suited and Booted. Which,
they're good guys.
Great guys, which really focus on more the Australian, like the NPL, and they've played in the A-League, so they understand that too. But just bring it from a fresh kind of maybe style that we maybe are not hip to. Is even hip a cool word to say these days?
I mean, you've never sounded older in your whole life.
No.
I don't think.
You're slaying. You're slaying.
Excuse me, what was that? I don't know what was worse about Archie saying hip, because you're too young to say hip, and I don't even know what you said, Thomas. But I'd say you're too.
I just hear my kids say
too old to say that.
But I think the great thing was that in the bigger picture, we got the crowd and the popularity of football in Australia is not going to be fixed overnight. It's a marathon, and I think all these things, the talk, the opinions, the kids coming along, that's part of the future and building a solid foundation, for years to come. And hopefully, we can get the A-League where the AFL is, or where it is in England at some point, where you fill the stadiums, you get everyone talking about it. But it has to start somewhere, and I think that's the success of this Unite round.
And actually, there was an interesting point, because I sort of said, actually, everyone feels like they're in a permanent existential crisis. And 20 years is so young for a league, right? And so if everyone just waited 100 years, it'd be fine. There is a slight issue that we'd all be dead. But actually, and if you run a league, you can't just go, you just say to the board, just wait 100 years, it'll be fine. Like, you've got to earn your salary somehow. But one of the podcasters was saying to me, there are now players in the league, right, who were in the stands when they were kids, and they're now playing. And so that kind of thing, that kind of understanding of the history of it, wouldn't have happened 20 years ago, but is happening now. And we talk about all the young players in teams. Some of those guys, they were on the terraces and now they're playing. And those kind of things that sort of really help the fabric and the structure and the history of a league that you, like you say, you can't do overnight, are starting to happen. And I thought that real enthusiasm and the love for the game, and honestly, actually you say, it's not just kids. If you just see anybody, suddenly there's a ball and a hole. Literally nothing else matters. You're just sitting there. That's how you could solve all the problems in the world. You could just get some AstroTurf, a football, and a top corner, and just say, come on. And everyone would forget about all the problems they have. We should probably get on with the games that also happened, just to run you through the results. It kicked off on Friday. Another defeat for Perth Glory. They're having a rotten time. West United's first win of the season. Central Coast Mariners got their season up and running with a 2-1 win over the Jets. Brisbane Roar have no points. They lost 3-2 to Adelaide United. The Sydney Derby was a great game. Sydney FC deserved it, 4-2 winners. And then on Sunday, both the Kiwi sides won. They are first and second in the A-League. Another win for Auckland, and Wellington Phoenix beating Melbourne. Victory. Let's start with the Sydney Derby, shall we? Because it was a really good game. And it was a sort of highlight of the weekend. It was a great crowd. And I think, Thomas, a deserved victory for Sydney FC.
I think very deserved. It's like the fourth Derby win in a row. They're totally owning this at the moment. And I think you could see the quality. I thought I was a little bit disappointed with Western Sydney, the way they sat back. They were just relying on they more or less only had that chance that Satford ends up scoring just before half time. And I thought Douglas Costa, for the 45 minutes he played, I thought he provided some sparks. There was heaps of quality all around, and it could have been a lot worse, I feel, for Western Sydney. Thank God for the spectacle. They were in the game for a long time, and they got back into it with 3-2, and but I think Sydney were all over them and deserved it.
And that first goal for Western Sydney, probably the only Achilles heel for Sydney FC this season is that they dominate so much of the play with their quality up front. But they always just seem to get done on a counter or lapses in concentration when it comes to defending. That's probably one side of the game that need to fix. But, you got Joe Lolly back. He gets on the score sheet. I think we were actually giving him a bit of stick. And it's funny how players really listen to what we actually say. Because I think it was Alex Bross that actually brought it up during the week that there was a couple of Western Sydney and Sydney FC players playing golf the week into the derby. I wonder what your thoughts are on that. Actually,
I think it's mad that anyone cares. I think it's completely so. He played golf with some Western Sydney Wanderers players.
Yes, during the lead up
week. And what's the problem?
And so then, right before the game, we were interviewing Joe, and I actually mentioned that Broski's having a whinge because he's an ex-Sydney FC player that maybe you shouldn't be playing golf. And he's kind of said, grow up, Alex. As soon as he scores, he goes over and gives it the old golf. And I love it. It's like, yes.
But that is ridiculous, isn't it? That, what a surprise. Footballers are friends with other footballers. Of course they are, because people are friends with their work colleagues. I mean, not always, let's be clear. But people are friends with their work colleagues. That happens. They live the same life. They have the same times when they're free. It's a bit like, if a team loses and then suddenly, Manchester United lose and then Marcus Rashford is seen shopping or smile. You don't have to smile within 3 days of a defeat. You must have had that. I mean, of course, you've got to be careful.
But you've got to respect the passion. For some of these fans, it's live or die. And it's just the respect of that. I totally get it, and I've been the same, but I was always cautionate about like not hanging around.
So when should you play? When should a Sydney FC player be allowed to play golf?
Low key. Yeah, I know, but maybe not ahead
a
of
month
the derby.
before is okay.
Yeah, maybe a month
But
before,
a week
like,
before.
Yeah,
I mean,
I get
you're
it.
humans, right?
Yeah, and you know, you got to respect both sides of the argument and just get on with it.
But the funny thing about that actually is that everyone that played in that golf game, they all scored.
3 out of 4 of the golfers scored, didn't they? Yeah, Courtney Perkins scored, Joe Lolly,
Antonsen
as well.
And, so I'm just like, wow. Everyone's just going to the influx of golf that's going to be played before big games is going to be incredible. But but Sydney were just outstanding. Their attack, unbelievable. Waheem, that guy is just
That free kick was so perfect. That delivery from a keeper's perspective. What can you do?
But even Courtney Perkins, like when you actually see it, like his desire to get ahead of the defender, because they are, and I think that's also summed it up. Like Sydney just in those moments, they just wanted it more. And as I said, Kareem, I thought he came on at half time, and he changed the game. 2 assists, 1 goal.
Yes, yeah.
You know, obviously Moroccan German background, but you know he gets his chance, and then delivers in a big game.
And just Western Sydney. I don't know. They couldn't even, like, they're not going to compete skill-wise with Sydney FC because the talent that Sydney FC have. But then even the physicality of like, sometimes you think you got to bring, they couldn't even match that. It was just such a vast gap between these two teams. And, they might have sparked it a little bit with that goal, just made it interesting. But really, Sydney FC just dominated.
Yeah, I mean, there was physicality in that penalty, the way he gave that. I mean, I loved that so much. I love a Stonewall penalty. I love a. Listen, if I'm going to give away a penalty, I'm really going to give away a penalty.
And you can see the player just just walks off. It's like no complaint, whatever. Yeah, okay.
And actually, talk about physicality. Klimala, I thought, like the way he took that, because because you've got to have everything there. You've got to have strength and balance, and then skill, because it's hard to finish that when people are like trying to, grab you down. I thought he did really well.
And definitely with Waheem actually playing that ball to him too, which was perfect. And like you said, to be able to make that run when you're holding off 2 strong defenders and to finish that clinically like he did. I just thought that his first game was great, but the way he's taken his goals, that goal against Brisbane and now the goal here, he's, like you said at the start of the season about Klimala being a great acquisition to Sydney FC.
Yeah, I think so. And also he's got the support, he's got the service, and that's what I want as a striker.
And I love when he just went, ripped right off in front of the cove like that. I just love it.
You're going to end the show by ripping that polo shirt
what's under
open?
here. Definitely not what's under here.
Have you let yourself go, Archie?
Yes.
It's okay.
It's
never too late.
Well, I do. I don't know what happens. Like I get into these, like I just fluctuate with.
Right.
Is
it diet? Happens? Is it mainly diet, or what is it?
Yeah, it's probably.
You got to live a little bit.
I know.
Like, you've got to live.
It's my body type.
Have a bit of chocolate and a little bit of gravy on the side.
What a lovely meal. I mean, you're not going to have a cooking show, Thomas, with chocolate and gravy. Let's be honest.
Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it.
Well,
you're right. I was wrong to suggest it. The big Western Sydney Wanderers talking point is Juan Mata, right? And we were talking about young, up-and-coming podcasters. Mata's agent, Ben Kafala, was actually talking to a podcast hosted by 2 very old men, the A-League off-air podcast. So he's Mata's representative in Australia, and he said Alan Stadic's decision to give his client limited minutes was disrespectful, right? So he went off on one on this podcast.
I think it's just insane in our league to do that kind of stuff. I don't understand. I think, to be honest, I think it's disrespectful. I think I hate it. I really, really hate it.
Stadic was asked after the game, and he said this, why he keeps leaving Juan Mata on the bench. And he says, I don't understand the premise of the question. We've got 25 field players in there who I'm concerned about. We've got 20 staff members attached to the club. We've got 20,000 members. They're my priority, and every single one of those is an equal priority. I mean, first of all, I'd say I would worry more about my players than the members. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying the members aren't important, but like you don't want to be checking.
No, but it's always good to mention it.
Yeah, good to mention the members, but he doesn't want to like check on their running stats through the week, does he? If he's going to do 20,000 members running stats, or Jeff,
maybe beer stats.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, look, Juan's coming to the team. He's humble. We know that. He's a great guy, Juan Mata. I've got 12 guys who don't play every game. I don't get phone calls from every single agent whose players aren't playing. I think he's got a bit too much oxygen, to be honest, as in the agents, having this chance to vent. He's been put in a difficult position here, Stadic, I guess. But do you think, I wonder if like just batting that off going, of course, his agent's got to look after him. I understand that. Managing the side, it's all fine. Would be a more sensible way to like pop the balloon. Because now we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's attack versus attack, really. And yeah, I think he should have just buried it and moved on. Again, it's these questions come up because they're just lost the derby. It's like throw the hand grenade in. Yeah. I thought his answer was quite too straight for my liking. But I get where he's coming from. It's just a distraction. Kafala.
Yeah.
And how do you see it? Because I don't know him personally. Is he that sort of? Does he love to stir it up, or is it just his opinion?
I mean, it appears like he does. But
Archie. Yeah, look, he's got some fire, that's for sure. But and what I love about Fayed is he's very black and white when he with his way that he maybe views things, but he always sort of says, "This is my opinion." So I mean, that's his opinion, and Juan Mata is calm. There's excitement. We all want to see him play football, and I can understand both sides of the he being his agent, how big Juan Mata is, you want to be seeing him. Then you got the manager trying to maybe nurse him into a side where he hasn't played much football. It's quite physical, the A-League. And then you got on the flip side, he said, well, he's not a physical character, but he's played 10 years in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. He's won the Euros. He's won World Cups. So there's it's this
I suppose the question is, from what you've seen of Mata, right? Ignore who he is.
Yeah.
From what you've seen, which isn't that much, do you think he should be starting for Western Sydney Wanderers? Or do you think the manager should find a way to get enough legs around him so that you've got someone with that talent, like amazing skill this player has? Should he be finding a way?
I think there's definitely a legitimate, reason for Stadic to not play him. I think you've seen his quality in moments, but you can also see the liability of him not being, and the way they were set up, like they were defending. Like, where does he fit in? They were sitting at the edge of their box. And Mata doesn't have the legs to run 70 yards down the other end and deliver a pass. So. I think it's something that you need to look at who you're playing. How dominant are you? And I think it's fair for Stadic not to play him, especially in this game. Like you said, it's physical. And that side, he hasn't come on and changed games. He's come on and had his moments, but he hasn't been a decisive influence where you can sort of say, "Whoa, he should definitely be starting."
Yeah, but I guess too that I don't understand when also Stadic did start him against Western United, so he got a good half of football, and I think he played even a little bit more than half of football. So then all of a sudden he's not on. He's on the bench and he's not even playing much football, and then again he's on the bench. He's not playing much football. I thought that if you're giving him a half, then you give him another half, and then you slowly start to introduce it. I mean, look at Douglas Costa. I mean, he was thrown in there. I mean, and he only got 45 minutes. I just think, why not do the same?
Or I guess what you do is you start him, and if he has a terrible game, you say, well, there you go. Or he doesn't do anything. Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of counterintuitive, but he could have a brilliant game. He's a brilliant footballer. Yeah. I remember I was doing the breakfast show on TalkSport, and it was around that. Do you remember the Yaya Toure birthday cake episode where Man City didn't get him a birthday cake, and he got a bit...
Oh, he got annoyed?
He got annoyed about not getting a birthday cake. Yeah. So we're talking about it, and then... I can't remember if his agent rang the show or if someone got his number and rang him and they said, we've got Yaya Toure's agent, get him on, right? So I was chatting to this guy for about 5 minutes and I'm just listening to a sort of vaguely Eastern European accent. And I don't know. I'm just sitting there like, I'm asking these questions. And every time he's answering, I'm just yelling to the people through the glass going, does anybody know if this actually is Yaya Toure? We have literally no idea. This could be Borat for either. Literally, I've got no idea. Like, how do you test? You can't like, I need this Wikipedia. I need to ask him like a series of security questions. You know, what was your first pet? What's your mother's maiden name? I don't know who it was. But yeah, I mean, it's a funny world, agents. You've got to look after your players, I guess.
I must say, from a personal perspective, I always said to my agent, don't interfere. And if you do interfere, go straight to the manager. Set up a meeting and have a one-on-one sensible discussion instead of throwing it
Don't
out
go
in the
talk
media.
to Daniel McBree. I mean, what are you doing?
No, but don't throw it out in the media because I don't think it'll ever help a player.
Yeah.
Like, unless you are, even we saw it with Ronaldo and, when he was, at United at the end, it never helps when you got agents talking to third parties because I think managers tend to be pretty stubborn. Like, they're like, I'm going to show them, and you don't want to be, look like you're being overawed by agents, because then you lose the locker room.
Yeah. Auckland FC, top of the league, officially the best start for an expansion club in A-League history, beating the Gold Coast, 1-0 victory over Macarthur. It wasn't a classic, Archie, but but what a start for them.
Just amazing. Watched a lot of Auckland games on the TV, but actually watching them live, I could really understand how Steve Corica's got this team playing. They're so well organised. You watch when the opposition's got the ball, the way that they move around, the way that they press, it's all in sync, and it's just a well-oiled machine. And that's why they've broken a record. They've won 4 games. They're sitting at the top. They haven't conceded a goal. Maybe, if anything, they just need to look a little bit sharper when they go forward or when they do have the ball, is what Steve Corica said, and that's quite evident. But, I mean, just defensively amazing. Macarthur had a good chance with Jaman that normally he would bury in the first half.
They had a couple of chances.
Oh, that is a bad miss.
That's
where he shouldered that, isn't
yes,
it? Yeah.
and that might have possibly changed the game because then, Auckland are chasing it and need to be a little bit better going forward. That could have changed the complexity of the game, but so well organised, and that's why they were sitting at the top.
It was probably one of the the worst game they played. I feel they were vulnerable. I think Piol had a couple of chances. Alex Paulson stepped up.
Yeah.
He's been not maybe tested too much, but he had 2 great saves in the game for Piol for both of them, and obviously that miss from Jaman. So they did get away with it to some extent, but then, they worked their way in, and I thought that left side with De Vries, coming and that cross, great movement in the box, and you must be loving that because he's in between the lines. You can actually see him how he adjusts into the space, and obviously a great delivery, and he finishes it off Gino May.
Yeah.
Again, they take their chances, their efficiency, and well drilled. Fair
work
play.
rate.
Like, they win when it's not pretty. That's a good team.
Yeah. Says the Stoke City legend, of course.
We never kept 4 clean sheets in a row. We didn't win 4 games in a row. We were never top of the table, so not quite.
On Alex Paulson, it's interesting, isn't it? Quite often when people talk about goalkeepers, they say, well, if it wasn't for Alex Paulson, then they might not have won this game. Sort of forgetting that he is actually in the team. Like, he's part of the team.
Yeah,
you're a goalkeeper, you're part of the team. But that's been a great signing for them.
Yeah, I thought the first couple of games, he was a little bit shaky at points, but then, when he was testing, I think he was good in the derby. He looked very, very comfortable when I was in Wellington, watched it, and here, now when they needed him, he made those 2 saves in the first half, and that changes the game because that leaves it at 0-0, and we see plenty of A-League teams who lets themselves down by bad defending or mistakes, and at the moment, Auckland are not making any.
Yeah, amazing.
Wellington Phoenix are second, beat Melbourne victory, 1-0. They wait until the 82nd minute to get into the Melbourne victory half, but I guess that's all you need to do. Does that mean victory be kicking themselves, Archie, with this?
Yeah, and this is a performance at Wellington because they lost some key players in the defence. They lost Sam Sutton, Timothy Payne on the sort of outlets on the fullback positions, wing back, sorry, and but they did it last year. Sometimes it wasn't pretty. They sat in and they just absorbed a lot of the pressure and then would get teams on the counter. And that's pretty much what Wellington did all last year, most of the time. And it worked for them. They finished second. They just almost missed out on the grand final. Very much the same. They did that against Victory, which they needed to, especially losing those key players. And again, Italiano, the manager, he just seems to know his team really well, what they're capable of. But also, too, you hear him in the interviews, he can actually coach on the run. Like, he'll see something happening where he talked about it, like Mashash was getting the ball. Okay, let's put a player there, cut that outlet out. And then all of a sudden, they're getting too much out wide. Well, let's block out the channels out that way. Always just like really thinking about the game and making decisions on the run. And it's working unbelievable. And he did say that with Costa's goal, Costa Barbarouses, he said, look, we're going to get you one-on-one isolated with Jason Guerrier and you're going to score the winner. I mean, the guy's predicting things now. I mean, he did it against, Central Coast, where he said, I thought about changing the formation 2 days before we worked on it. And it worked a treat against Central Coast. Well, like they blocked out wide.
Winners write history.
Oh, man.
Very good point. Yeah. Here's what I said would happen. I said we'd wait until the 82nd minute. But actually, there's a good point about in-game management, right? There's two parts of it. One is the manager spotting it.
Yes.
Yeah. The second thing is him telling the players to do it. And the third thing is the players listening and actually doing it, right? So there's three parts to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got players playing well. I think, Rufa in midfield, Wooden at the back. And for the criticism that Olivier got after the derby and the mistake that he made there, I thought he had a couple of good saves as well. So they rode their luck. I think, Asani got in. I thought he was lively.
Yeah, I really liked him.
Yes.
He's that sort of player. He can disappear, but then he can make these amazing things. And you sort of sensed that was where it was coming from Victory, and he did come close a couple of times. But yeah, it's one of them where PK even said afterwards, we sitting there kicking, at least not getting anything from the game because they were so dominant.
Yeah, but then on the flip side again, I thought Costa Barbarouses. I mean,
96 goals.
Yeah, and but just the way that he was that lone person up front, and whenever they got it to him, he was able to kind of hold it, bring other players in, spin, and keep making runs to really stretch his Victory side. And it really was just about kind of staying in the game and then trying to pinch something late. And it was just perfect. But like you said, PK would be a bit disappointed with the way that maybe they did create so many chances to get into scoring, but.
I felt that Arzani, I was pitch side for a bit of this, and his movement, you can see in his touch, is so good.
Yes.
And it felt like he was a cut above the guys around him. I don't know if that's fair or not.
Yeah, no.
I think with him, if he can get in any sort of one-on-one situation, he's got that one or two steps. He's explosive and he's got a quick trigger as well for a shot. He's unstoppable. Yeah. I think there's other parts of his game.
I reckon he'd hog it in five-a-side.
There's other parts of his game where he needs to improve, but get him in those situations like he did in this one. He's hard to stop.
And we saw Bruno Fornaroli make an
Appear
entrance
from nowhere,
out of nowhere.
He had a free kick.
Wow, what a great story that would have been. I mean, if he scores that and then turns the game around. But I thought that game, Virgos. I don't think he was present at all. I don't remember him really touching the ball. Since that goal in the derby, I don't think he's really done much again. So I don't know. What do you do? Do you keep persisting with that Virgos, or do you go, okay, maybe I made a mistake. Let's go and let's give Bruno another opportunity or a chance. I don't know.
They missed Piscopo though. Especially with the way Wellington was sitting. Him in those. We've seen him. Yeah. Like the way he can go past players, setting up. I thought that was a miss for them. Especially the way the game went.
And it was good to see Santos though. Gets a minute. Yeah. I think he's going to bring a lot of energy. I like the way that he plays that wide position where he'll give it and immediately he wants to make a forward run. It's not like maybe like a Piscopo or a Daniel Arzani, where they're very tricky and he's just a real good, powerful runner, and he could potentially make a difference to this victory side. But yeah, they just seemed a bit flat there in front of goals.
Perth Glory 1, Western United 3. So Western United's first win of the season. I guess before we do the inquest on Perth, we should say well done to Western United. Got their season up and running, Thomas.
Yeah, and we got a crossbar challenge for Bottage in the first half.
Oh, amazing.
We got to mention that because
what a miss.
I don't know
How do you do that?
I was sitting there and I had to rewatch it. I was like, what just happened? So I think, they Ibusuki missed a chance as well. So Perth were, up against it. But I thought Western were well worth the win. I thought they were really good. Ibusuki again got his 2 goals.
He took them both really well, didn't he?
Yeah. So I think overall, well deserved.
I would that goal opportunity. I think it was maybe even just he was thinking this is too easy. I'm going to try and head it off the bottom of the pole to go into the crossbar to go in.
Trying to showboat.
Yeah, showboat. But I did say this, and that was probably one of the moments of the Unite round is for a young kid to miss that opportunity. So easy to go. I don't want the ball anymore. I'm gonna really go inward. But no, I thought ever since he got that or missed that opportunity. He actually wanted it more, and he set 2 goals up with Ibusuki. Yeah. He created a few chances for himself. I think that shows a lot of mental strength in that. Perth, if you're really the positives you're taking, if I was a Perth team, is that you didn't concede a whole half. That's where that team is for me. It's like, oh yes, that's a real tick of the box. We didn't get conceded.
It was 35 minutes last week. Now
yeah,
it's a half.
That's a half. We'll take that. And then, but this is I don't understand. Like Paul Zrilic, I don't know either. It's just mind-boggling to see what's happened. But yes, you get a goal up, right? Fair enough. But the way that they concede their goals and they don't just concede one and then it's like, okay, 10 minutes they concede it. They concede another one and it was from a corner, 3 players going to one defender and then it drops to a Western United
Dylan
player.
Leonard, that's a great story.
Yeah, 17
scoring.
Yeah.
Obviously getting sent off at the end. Yeah, and even the second one, like you looking, we were talking in our preview that, it's a little bit of a hit and miss when you bring in foreign players, but you bring in Kanja at the back and he's been very shaky. And even for the second goal, the long ball, I don't know, he's trying to chest it. It goes over his top and Ibusuki ends up scoring. He's like, just head it away, just clear it. So they just seem like they can't get out their own way. Even though, we talk about other teams clinging on. Like we see Auckland, Wellington clinging on, good performance, one chance score. They go 1-0 up. Yeah. And then they just concede 2 silly goals and in a game where they probably wouldn't have deserved to win, but maybe, defensive performance, you win 1-0 luckily, and that's how you turn things around. Yeah. It's a tough one, and you can see Drillis, he's sitting there at a press conference just displayed. He's just, what?
Do you think it's a case of, I don't know how much pressure he's under, or whether he might just go, I don't need this. What do you think? Is there a case of, I guess when you don't have relegation, right, there's not that immediate pressure to say, right, we want to get rid of this manager, whatever.
But there's still pressure though with the new investments and stuff be interesting.
I
don't, a good start.
Yeah, I don't know what they do. Listening to that interview for poor Zrilic, he was just sort of like, because there is so many things wrong with this Perth team. He'd jump and go, that was happening there. And then you go, oh, that was happening there. Oh, and this was happening here. So, it was just all compounding. I just felt so sorry for him but this Perth side, I don't know.
Can you turn it around? Can you see a way that it can turn around?
Unless you can do the fundamental things better, which is just got to defend. It's very hard.
He tried to change, so Cameron Cook came in instead of Oliver Sale. Yes. So that was, I think, a big decision from the manager to chuck one of the most experienced. Oliver Sale was one of the best keepers in the league a couple of years ago. So and he made a couple of good saves early on. Cook to kept him in the first half. But you can see he's sort of trying to throw rocks. It's just trying to see what, if anything.
It's like the whole house is on fire. He's got a tea towel, right? oh no,
that's maybe harsh. But,
okay, it feels to me like I don't know, like because Brisbane have no points, right, and that is fewer points than Perth have.
Yes,
but it doesn't feel like there's a crisis. The crisis feels different. They lost to Adelaide 3-2. I don't know. I mean, that might be completely wrong. Clearly, no points is not a good number of points to have at this stage of the season.
Yeah.
Is the crisis similar, or what do you think?
Well, you mean you want to be winning, and you want to obviously, and people that are outside looking at that go, okay, well, they haven't won. They're sitting at the bottom, but their performances are so much better than Perth's, and they've been so close to, maybe winning games or at least being in games where they can win. Again, they've got a very young attacking team that, you're relying on someone like Thomas Waddingham that's young. And
the new Viduka.
Yeah.
Keep watching him.
Yeah.
No, he played all right, I thought.
Yeah, and
he
he won
got
a
a
penalty.
penalty, yeah.
But he's young. He's not going to. And I'm always excited about young players coming in. But is he a type of player who's going to get 15 goals and win your games of a season? Not yet. And then you got Jelicic. I thought his finish
Great
was
goal.
amazing, incredible. But again, it's like it's good that they're scoring or at least creating goals. But to rely on that all season is going to be very hard.
Yeah, but you again looking at some of these moments, like this, the ability makes a mistake for letting Adelaide into the game, and then Adelaide made a few changes. Falami came on, and I thought he was good, but then they concede a minute into the second half, and you're thinking.
How many times have you both heard nothing silly first?
Just get through the first. Yeah. It does happen, and it's again, it's a little bit of the clearance. I don't know. He just stresses, gets a rebound, but it's just something that shouldn't happen, especially in that situation. Yeah. But as I said, it's easier said than done, and we've all heard it 1,000 times.
I don't mean to hammer the Stoke City Tony Pulis thing, but I love how all your analysis boils down to just get rid of the bloody thing.
It worked.
No, you're right.
Maybe
you're
a few teams in the A-League should adopt it.
Hey, it's all I say in Sunday League. I did think of Bart Friends, our cycle helmet man, when he gave away the penalty, because I got an e-bike because I prefer them to getting in taxis from my hotel to the Allianz, but it didn't have a helmet in there, and I thought, would I get Bart Vrens here on my journey in? So I'd like to apologise to the police of Sydney. And I don't know, can you be retrospectively fined? I hope not. Maybe I'm not allowed back in New South Wales. But yeah, I didn't use a cycle helmet, but I thought of Bart Vrens. It was Bart Vrens, wasn't
Yes,
it? It was Bart. Yeah, I thought of Bart. Yeah. And if I'd been put in prison, I'd be next to him. We'd share a cell. The cycle helmet gang. There would be us. We just walk around prison with cycle helmets on going, you don't want to mess with us. What are we in for? Not wearing a cycle helmet. Kids, wear a helmet. It's safe. What else did I like in this game? I thought the assist from Piraeus.
Yeah, but Archie Goodwin, getting on the end of it.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for them. His injuries obviously come from Newcastle, working his way back in, and just for his confidence, just to have that. He can be a real asset for them if he can stay fit and get the confidence of him.
Yeah, I like two young strikers in Jovanovic and Goodwin. Goodwin?
Archie Goodwin.
Yeah, gosh, Goodwin. Archie Goodwin.
Goodwin.
Goodwin, Archie Goodwin.
Good on him.
But such different
You keep
players.
saying a word, it starts to not make sense.
Yeah, I
doesn't
know.
it? You keep saying Goodwin.
Goodwin. Change his surname. But two completely different players. But I think if I look at both of those strikers, I feel like Goodwin's just a complete package in that he's great on the ball, he brings other players in, and he can score goals. He's quick, he's direct, and he's following up on that opportunity to score. And so, it'll be interesting if Archie Goodwin gets a start next week over Luca.
Yeah, I think Jovanovic, you can sort of see in the game, he doesn't always hold the ball up well, and you can just see he's a young player.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite know where to position himself at times, and he gets lost, but he gets on the end of things.
Yes, yeah.
But I think Archie Goodwin is probably, if he's fit, a better, more mature player at this moment in time. So Carl Vert will have a decision to make.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think so.
Central Coast's first win of the season against Newcastle Jets. What did you make of this?
Oh gosh. Yeah, probably not one of the more exciting games of the Unite round, to be honest. But we saw where Central Coast turned their season around last season when they were 0-4, and then it was the derby that flipped it, and it was a good solid performance after going down. I thought that the thing that frustrated me again for Newcastle was, and frustrates me with a lot of the A-League teams, is that when you get past the press, the great opportunity to just go forward, and then I think with Newcastle they get past the press, and then they go back again. And it's like they enjoy wanting to try and play through the press. And then they make the mistakes with their goal that they scored, and I thought it was a really well-taken goal, is when they finally get the turn, pass through the press, play another ball forward, cross, goal. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And so, there's some positive, but again, Brian Kaltak, I just love that guy, man. He seems to...
He gave himself 10 out of 10.
I would too.
I love that.
Oh, yeah,
so
I
how
love
would you
that.
rate your performance at 10 out of 10?
but he's that good. I would be giving myself 10 out of 10. He scores a goal. He's quality on the ball. He's reading on the game.
Is that a pigeon? What was that? That's unnecessary, isn't it? Carry on, Archie.
Oh, God, sounds like the Perth defence. Just a complete stop when the ball goes. Anyway.
Have you lost your train of thought, Archie, or where were you?
Yeah, about Caltech.
Yes.
I mean, I thought that the first few rounds he looked a bit off, but that's what the game that's the Brian Caltech. Read the game. Ball, like he's passing on the ball. I mean, he scores a goal to get him back in the game. I thought that Central Coast were just a little bit better.
Yeah, again, we talk about mistakes. Ryan Scott flies out.
Caltech, he just goes for a wander.
Again, it's one of them. You get 1-0 up, and then you make a mistake, and you let the other team in, because Central Coast, they weren't great, but then they did enough to win the game, and there's some bright spots. I think Gibson came on for Newcastle, Bayliss up front. They got some. There's something about the team. You don't feel it's hopeless. But again, it was another one that probably they should have had something out of the game.
Can I just ask on a goalkeeping question? Because from my point of view, you look at that and you think, well, that's hopeless. But obviously, that is a real oversimplification, right? Because you've got a split second to judge a lot of things, right? Yeah. Haven't you? Which is like, is that coming to me? Is it not coming to me? Should I go? Should I stop? Like, I'm paralysed, but I can't decide which tin of chopped tomatoes to buy when I'm in IGA. So that, I'm just going to be there for hours going, I don't know what to do. So it's, it looks terrible, but actually, you've got a lot of decisions to make quickly, right?
Yeah, and it's sometimes hard, and sometimes you look like a fool. Especially when you've committed and when you're running, whoa, this is the defenders help me out in this situation. It's just that moment in time, and Ryan Scott is a reasonably experienced keeper, and you sort of with time you learn to. I always sort of if it's further out, you're better off staying on your line, because the header, you've got a great chance of saving it if they get it on.
And also
on
that angle of the cross, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So you get better at working the percentages in your favour, because that's ultimately what it is. It's just one of those. It's just unfortunate, because he has been great. Like, he saved them a couple of weeks ago with the penalty save and the assist as well with the long kick. So he's been good, but. Yeah, in this instance, he will probably look back and be disappointed.
Yeah, and I suppose that what you don't want, I'm thinking about like Vicario at Spurs, right? Who had a brilliant game at the weekend, and we'll get on to Ange in a minute, but like he's got a reputation for being bad at set pieces. You just don't want to have that if you're a goalkeeper, do you?
No, again, it gets highlighted, and then other teams will try to exploit it, and if you're nervous, like I remember being in teams where you deliberately target the goalkeeper. You put players around him, nudge him, block him, and then and you can great opportunities.
Although there's a great thing in Sunday League where, before the game, someone will say, if the keeper's short, they'll go, that keeper looks short, so lads, have some shots. And you're like, so if the keeper looks big, what are we going to do? Not bother? Like, what's the point? They go, keeper looks pretty good, let's not bother.
I remember as a kid, it was just like under the bar. Under the bar.
He looks tiny, let's shoot early. The keeper looks big, so let's not shoot for the first 60 minutes.
No, then we keep it on the ground. Low.
Finally, because we've been bollocking on for hours, if that's allowed to say on YouTube. Great win for Ange Postecoglou. He was under a bit of pressure, and if they hadn't beaten City, they'd have had more defeats than wins. And there's people starting to talk about the inconsistency this season. And they've got a good record against Man City. He has a good record against Pep already. Yeah. But to go to the Etihad, where they hadn't lost in 52,
it's crazy.
and to win 4-0, and I know City aren't at full strength, but Tottenham aren't at full strength. As I played you. I was on the radio on Saturday morning going, Spurs are going to get hammered here. I was like, I can't bear to watch it. And they were brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, I think unfairly, like he's been judged, Ange, by obviously not winning against Ipswich, that comeback, Brighton, and it sort of keeps haunting him. But I think this was, a perfect game for him to sort of cement, his playing style. And there's not a lot of teams that come and, they weather the storm the first 10 minutes and then, the belief in the way they play and just go and execute. And, you can talk about Man City not being full strength, but
still Man City.
Still got a great side. And, it's not going for them, but, Tottenham hopefully, can string something together to get into that top four and where I think they deserve to be. I think they're playing well enough at times.
I love football phone-ins. I mean, I hate them. But last night, it's just people ringing up TalkSport where I work going, Bernardo Silva's useless. It's Bernardo Silva. Come on, relax, guys. But a big moment for Ange, I thought. Well, I feel that's enough. Unless you want more of me to do that stuff. Nah, you happy? If I'm happy? I'm not talking to anybody. I just like to have an imaginary friend back there. Gentlemen, been a total pleasure. Yeah, thanks for coming in. Because if you didn't, it would just be, be lonely.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping that you stick around, mate. I know that you want to...
8-1 for match of the day.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep talking about it.
So we could probably turn up here on a Monday and then that just be nothing there.
It would be just a laptop.
Would you even say,
I pretend this never happened.
I'm just hoping.
The thing is, if I got that gig... Can you tell my wife we're moving back? Because that I wouldn't get in a large trouble.
Well, I've heard her with the poached eggs.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know about moving across the other side of the whip. That's a difficult one. I'll leave that one with you.
I think you're probably safe. Thomas, you slayed it.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
But hopefully you can get me an invite to the Unite round next year. So it'd be nice to be in Sydney.
No, everyone said, do you know what's so great about this? I'm loving it. All the activation, the kids having a great time, all the different people traveling with everyone. The best thing about it, there's no Thomas Sorensen. that was like the big.
Maybe a little goalkeeping clinic. In the activation area.
Tell you, if you play a few games for the Melbourne Bohemians, see if you've still got it. Just play a full season.
You can
next
give
year.
me in.
I'll get you in.
Love it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Cheers, Archie. Cheers,
Cheers,
Thomas. We'll be back next time. Take it easy.